Welcome to another episode of Terry's Notes. Today we're going to be looking at the January 2017 paper, question 9. Alright, so we have a table and it's showing pairs of values of x and y. And they tell us that y is inversely proportional to x. Right? Part 1 says to express y in terms of x and a constant k. So whenever I give you a question like this and they said y is inversely proportional to x, what they're saying is that y is proportional to 1 over x, right? If we get, and this sign here is called a proportional sign. So if we want to remove the proportional sign, it'll be replace it and put an equal sign, but we must include a constant. So it'll be y is equal to k over x. So that is the answer for the first part, where we express y in terms of x and a constant. Now we need to calculate the value of k. So all we need to do is choose a pair of value. I'm going to choose the easy one. X is equal to 3 when y is equal to 1. So we have x is equal to 3 and y is equal to 2. Sorry, I just said 1. So therefore, if we substitute x is equal to 3 and y is equal to 2 into this equation here, we're going to end up with 2 is equal to k over x, which is 3. Alright? Now this is the same as saying 2 over 1. So if we cross multiply, we're going to end up with k is equal to 6. Alright? So therefore k is equal to 6. Next part is to find the values of a and b. Alright, so we know that when x is equal to a, y is equal to 1.2. Alright, so since we know k is equal to 6, our actual equation is, right this here, the actual equation we have, or the relationship is y is equal to 6 over x. So we know that when x is equal to a, y is equal to 1.2, right? So we're going to substitute that into our equation. So we have 1.2 is equal to 6 over a, right? So that's the same as saying 1.2 over 1. So we cross multiply and we end up with 1.2a is equal to 6. Therefore, a is equal to 6 over 1.2. Therefore, a is equal to 6 divided by 1.2. We get 5. So therefore, a is equal to 5. Then they also want us to find b. So we're going to use this pair now. So when x equals 20, y is equal to b. So if we substitute that into our equation, we end up with b is equal to 6 over x, which in this case is 20. So therefore b is equal to 6 divided by 20. We end up with 0.3. Right? So that is b. Next part of the question. So we have a quadratic graph that is drawn for us. And the equation or the function f of x, they tell us, is x squared minus 6x plus 8. Right? So that is what this graph is showing here. They said use a graph to solve the equation. So they want us to solve this equation. X squared minus 6x plus 8 is equal to 0. Now, whenever you have to solve a quadratic, right, and you have a graph, all you need to do is to find the points at which the graph cuts the x-axis. So this is our x-axis here. This is our x-axis, right? So where does the graph cut the x-axis? Cuts the x-axis at this point here. The coordinates of that point is 2, 0. Cuts the x-axis at this point here, which is 4, 0. So therefore, use the graph to solve the equation. So therefore, x is equal to 2 and x is also equal to 4. So that is the answer for the first part. Next part now, they said x squared minus 6x plus 8 is being written in the form a, open brackets, x plus h all squared plus k. Right? So this is how we do this. X squared minus 6x plus 8 is equal to a, open bracket, x plus h squared plus k. All we need to do is to simplify the right hand side and then equate it to the left hand side. So let me show you what I mean. We expand the brackets, x plus h squared. That'll be x squared plus 2x h plus h squared plus k. Now some students will be confused as to what I did here. So let me show you on the side. So x plus h squared is the same as saying x plus h multiplied by x plus h. Right? Simple enough. Now, when you have to multiply out two brackets, we take the first term and multiply by the first term. We end up with x squared. X by x will give me x squared. I'm going to take the first term and multiply it by the second term. X by h will give me xh. Now I'm going to take my second term in my first bracket. I'm going to take h by x. I'm going to get xh again. And then I'm going to take this h and multiply it by this h, which will give me h squared. So I will end up with x squared plus 2hx plus h squared. Right? Or 2xh, doesn't matter. Next step, I need to simplify this. I need to remove the brackets now. So I'm going to take my first term and multiply my a and multiply by the first term. So I end up with ax squared. And I'm going to take the a and multiply it by this term here, which will give me 2ahx. Right? I'm putting the x after here. I'm going to take the a and multiply by h squared. So this will be a h squared. And then we have plus k on the outside here. Okay, so here's what you have to do now. So this is x squared minus 6x plus 8. So what we're going to do is equate coefficients. So the first term here is an x squared term, and we have an x squared term here. Therefore, a is equal to 1, right? Because the number in front x squared here is 1. We just normally don't write the 1. So we got a. Now we have to find b now. So this is our term in x. This is our term in x. So we're going to say 2ah is equal to minus 6. Right? Because the coefficient of x on this side here is 2ah, and the coefficient of x on this side is minus 6. We also know that a is 1, so this will be 2 by 1 h is equal to minus 6. Therefore, h is equal to minus 6 over 2. Therefore, h is equal to minus 3. Cool so far? Okay, now we need to equate. We have a constant here, ah squared plus k. So ah squared plus k is equal to 8. But we know a is 1. We know h is minus 3. So it's minus 3 squared plus k is equal to 8. Therefore, 3 squared will give me 9. 9 by 1 is 9. Plus k is equal to 8. Therefore, k is equal to 8 minus 9, which is equal to minus 1. So therefore, x squared minus 6x plus 8, written in the form that they asked us to write it in, will be x, what is h? H is minus 3. Squared plus k, in this case is minus 1. So it's x minus 3 squared minus 1. we know that a is 1, but I'm not going to write the 1 in front of this here because it's understood that it is 1. Okay? Part 4 now. On the same axis, draw the graph of the straight line g of x is equal to x minus 2. How do we do that? So they want us to draw g of x is equal to x minus 2. Now, that is a straight line. To draw a straight line, all we need are 2 points. So we're going to drop our little table. We're going to have x, we're going to have y. And what I will do, I will use, for x values, I'll use values within the range of the graph that they gave us. So I'll use x equal 1 as the first one. I will also use, let's say x is equal to 3. And let's say x is equal to 5. All I need to do is to take the x values and substitute it into this function here, right? X minus 2. So if I take x equal 1 and I plug it into the function minus g of x, so g of 1 is equal to 1 minus 2, which is equal to minus 1. G of 3 is equal to 3 minus 2, which is equal to 1. And g of 5 is equal to 5 minus 2, which is 3. Alright, so this is 1 minus 1, this is 3, 1, and this is 5, 3. Now you could choose any points that you want in order to plot your graph. Alright, so my first point is 1 minus 1, which is here. Right, this is 1 minus 1. You know what? Let me draw this in a different color. So this is my first point. I'm going to draw it in green. 1 minus 1. The next one is 3, 1. Where's 3, 1? 3, 1 is here. And the next one is 5, 3. 5, 3 is here. Alright, so I don't have a ruler here, so I'm going to just draw. Your graph should look something like this. Right, so this is g of x. Cool. So what's the last part here? They said hence solve the equation x squared minus 6x plus 8 is equal to x minus 2. Alright, let's talk a little bit about this. So they're asking us to solve x squared minus 6x plus 8 is equal to x minus 2. Now, when students see this, they might get confused and be like, okay, well, what do we do here? But what you'll realize is that if you look at the left-hand side of this equation, x squared minus 6x plus 8 is this graph here. This is f of x. X minus 2 is g of x. That's this graph here. So what they're actually telling us here is, where does a quadratic graph intersect the straight line graph? It intersects at this point here, right? Which is, what is this? 2, is that 2? Yeah, okay. So it intersects at 2, 0 and also 5, 5, 3. That's this point here. So therefore the solution to this equation will be x. Now we don't need the coordinate, we just need the x values of the coordinate. Right? So it's x is equal to 2 and also x is equal to 5. Because these are the points where the quadratic curve intersects the straight line. Okay?